it's a sort of double-edged sword.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to take part in the publicity. He is inevitably creating some publicity.
Yeah, he's done very well. I think we're talking about it now. We haven't even seen it.
But if you don't want to take part in the publicity, how do you do that without creating a public stir?
Well, I mean, I think he knows what he's doing here. Suddenly we're talking about Jim Carrey. It's been a long time since anyone talked about Jim Carrey in any, you know, in any kind of healthy film debate at all. I mean, what he's done here is kind of sort of he's lit a match under what is, I suppose, the seething kind of debate about films at the moment, particularly in the family arena. This film is, I suppose, aimed at teenagers and families. But it is extremely violent. They all are. It is actually a wider issue that he's drawing attention to, and maybe Hollywood will take note, or maybe it's just he's got to say, well, I don't want to promote this film, but I am going to draw attention to what now the debate that will follow this film around like a stink for the rest of the summer.
So, Adam, what's your take on this? What's your position? You're someone who's inside the business. You work in comic strips and making films yourself. So, what's your take?
I think Jim's done a fantastic job marketing the film. I think if he hadn't wanted to draw any attention to the film and not make it a success, he wouldn't have agreed to do the film in the first place. I think when it comes to the issue of violence in films, this debate rears its head every now and again, and you know, keeps coming back as to whether films are too violent. I'd agree with Jason that there aren't really any family films being made at the moment, and even films that are geared towards family audiences tend to have a darker edge and, you know, kind of...
But sorry to interrupt. When you say there aren't any family films being made at the moment, Despicable Me 2
animation.
is out.
I'm talking about films as opposed to animation. If you think about the films that were popular in the 1980s, Back to the Future, The Goonies, you know, family movies, there are no family feature films being made anymore. If you want to take your kids to the cinema, you have to take them to see...
Am I grasping at straws here?
Well,
is that the problem?
They're so few and far between that nowadays, if you think about family films like, let's take Oz, for example, the kind of darkness and menace that features in that, if you take Alice in Wonderland, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the Tim Burton version, there just seems to be a trend towards darker and darker material. And if you're looking at Kick-Ass, I think it's actually geared at an older audience. I don't think it's a family film. It's got a 15 rating, and I think that people can go into this film with the advice from the BBFC as to what to expect.
Jason, there's kind of ritual we go through with this argument about film, which is someone gets upset, there's a debate about films and violence in films. The film industry largely comes down saying, shh, there's no evidence of, you know, show me the evidence, there isn't any, you know, it's just make-believe, trust the audience. We've been through this debate so many times.
We have.
And where do we get?
I'm worried that we're inured to the kind of actual meaning of the debate sometimes, but I do think that films, particularly this summer, I'm noticing every single film ends in a massive climax of people knocking 7 bales of hell out of each other. And they've been doing it for ages in the blockbuster arena, from the Transformers films, where it's just robots who actually can't feel anything anyway, so I don't know why they still hit each other, because they don't feel pain. But so the Man of Steel, the Batman films, these are incredibly violent. Their undercurrent is violent. They're nihilistic, they're pompous, they actually don't actually mean anything by the end. Iron Man 3 even, which was quite funny, but then ended up in this climax of an orgy of violence. It's sort of the last 30 minutes of each blockbuster are just senselessly violent, to the point where we don't feel any consequences of those violence. We don't feel the pain of any violence, and violence hurts.